Hey everybody, Johnny5 Alive here, and welcome to a video series where I showcase what I found to be the best in slot min-max build for one of the 12 Midnight Suns heroes. I will also give a quick review of all the hero abilities to show what other potential fun build options the hero may have, or reveal the thought process that ultimately led me to the one and only best choice to min-max said hero. Once we have given an overview of the hero, I will give a tier list rating in direct comparison to the other 12 heroes. We'll also mention what battle items and heroes synergize best with this build. This is a 1 of 12 part series. If you end up finding this video informative or helpful in any ways, please check the video description for a full playlist of my series for Midnight Suns, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's get into today's hero. It's time for everybody's favorite fourth wall breaker, Deadpool. That is right, ladies and gentlemen, I have delivered on the 12-part series as promised, and now I have decided to press forward into the DLC heroes since everyone has been so positive in the comments in this video series. So thanks to you guys, I'm going to continue doing this series past the 12 that I promised, and I just want to say that I really appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been leaving in the comments. Please keep it up. It definitely motivates me to keep on going, and that is the reason why we have today's video, because of you guys. So we have a lot to go over with Deadpool in today's video, so this might be a lot longer than the usual ones, so buckle up. First things first, I need to address how infuriating the Deadpool DLC is and was. I purchased the Legendary Edition of the game, and when the DLC dropped, I didn't even get the hero upon completing the Deadpool story. It took Firaxis an entire week to fix this game-breaking bug, selling us a lackluster 2-hour DLC campaign, then not even giving many of us like me the actual freaking hero that we paid for. I made a Reddit post that got upvoted like crazy. I made a video on it that got some views, and I tweeted about it constantly to all the different developers on the team. And only then, after wide reception on the matter, did Firaxis finally fix it a week later. I hate to think that if I don't go out of my way to be loud about this bug, they would have just left it. In fact, I know that is the case because I have proof. All the DLC cosmetic skins that you pay for with your hard-earned money from either buying the Legendary Edition, the DLC, or buying them through the cosmetic shop, all of the people that had the no Deadpool bug issue, they don't actually have access to the skins either. Even after they fixed the hero, they didn't fix the skins that come with him. That is right, I paid for skins, and it's been a month since the DLC released, and I still don't have access to them. And this is likely because I didn't make a fuss about it. There's not enough people upvoting this problem on Reddit. There's not enough YouTube videos about it. There's not enough tweets going about it. So Firaxis doesn't even look into it. And at this point, I'm just tired of telling them how they're scamming us out of the money that we spent on their game because they're too lazy to bug test their own product. Ugh. So here comes the Venom DLC. I wonder how many issues I'll have with that. And to think I'll be playing Venom and I still won't even have access to the Deadpool skins that I paid for from the previous DLC. So they're still having ongoing issues from previous DLCs and just pushing forward to releasing new ones. It feels like they're just giving up on this game, and it's infuriating. So all game-breaking bugs aside, the Deadpool DLC came with a short 2-hour campaign, but it did introduce some new vampire-type enemies, which was pretty cool. This is important to mention because Deadpool actually performs better when fighting lots of enemies, and the vampire nest missions hatch lots and lots of vampires. So it is a nice addition that went hand in hand with the new hero and that hero's mechanics. The Deadpool campaign was pretty disappointing overall, and from what it appears, it's actually just 1/4 of the overall campaign expansion. So it looks as if we're gonna get 2 hours with each of the concurrent DLC heroes. So effectively, we'll get 8-hour vampire campaign over the course of the drip-fed 4 DLC heroes. It's pretty disappointing to see it piecemealed out this way when compared to the amazing XCOM expansion packs that Firaxis Games has delivered in the past. They are way better than this, and I'm extremely disappointed in the treatment of a Marvel product game. So that's my overall perspective on the DLC. All complaining aside, let's talk about why you actually clicked on this video, and that is for Deadpool. Deadpool's core design is that of a damage dealer class, but they introduced an entirely new game mechanic system to Deadpool alone. And this is the Enfuego system. And brace yourselves, because I'm going to be saying Enfuego a lot. The way this works is that once Deadpool kills an enemy, he gains a stack of Enfuego. But the cost to increase Enfuego stacks increases by 1 each consecutive time. So to get your second stack, you must kill 2 enemies, 3 enemies for the third stack, 4 for the fourth stack, and so on. These stacks then empower a majority of Deadpool's cards, adding additional effects per stack of Enfuego. The downside is that if Deadpool takes any damage at all, he loses 1 stack of Enfuego. All this explained, this means Deadpool gets progressively more powerful and excels best on missions that have tons and tons of enemies. You only truly see his potential unfold on missions with vampire eggs that hatch or assault wave based missions that call in reinforcements. I personally wish Enfuego stacks didn't require so many kills after the first stack or 2, as it feels like he never really gets going on those shorter mission types. I think they should have capped the growth of Enfuego at the most 2 kills per stack required, because even on the longest missions possible in the game, I still only managed to ever get to 5 Enfuego stacks. And at this point, he's not really able to unleash his power because the mission is basically over, and it feels like you're constantly building up to something amazing, but then you never get to pop off. What's worse, without any Enfuego stacks at all, he's extremely underpowered compared to the rest of the heroes on the roster. He requires at least 2 to 3 stacks to feel adequate in power compared to the other damage dealer classes. And this also means it requires him to do all the killing and not let your allies take a turn. It's like he has the egomaniac syndrome of Iron Man, but he starts off hitting like a wet noodle and barely ever achieves the strength that Iron Man has by default. And that's pretty disappointing. But I do digress. I really wanted to give the best possible guide and review on him, so I put my work in and I really started to find a fun factor groove with Deadpool. And what started from me feeling like this is absolutely the worst hero in the game grew into me enjoying him pretty thoroughly. So let's talk about his tier list ranking in comparison to the other heroes. Without mods, upgrades, champion levels, he is just absolutely horrible right out of the gate. By far the worst hero in the game, in my opinion. However, he's pretty transformative with mods, and he starts to feel pretty powerful later on. However, he absolutely relies on certain heroes for support to actually accomplish anything at all. So he upgrades into the C tier for me, but he is still overall the worst hero in the game in my opinion, mainly because he requires so many kills to build Enfuego stacks, and he never really achieves his full potential on short missions, not to mention he relies on heroes enabling him to actually build those stacks up in the first place. He's a highly dependent hero, but once modded, he's still a ton of fun regardless of where I ranked him. I do truly like the hero. I just feel there is some missed potential throughout his overall kit. On that note, I think the developers should consider making the DLC heroes feel a little bit overpowered, or even just to the likes of Iron Man. Most of us have finished the campaign, even twice now with New Game Plus, and we're coming back to the game effectively to play a 2-hour extension and maybe farm some endgame missions to give the new hero a spin. It would have been way more exciting to have a new super powered hero that puts Iron Man in contention for a possible new S tier hero pick, and and would even possibly give us motives to do another New Game Plus because the hero is such a badass. But regardless, he's still pretty fun, especially with the build I'm going to be showcasing in today's video. So if you're new to the game or looking to play another New Game Plus, I'm certain you'll enjoy checking out my build, and you will too have a ton of fun with Deadpool, regardless of his limited potential. So let's take a closer look at my build and recommendations for Deadpool, and let's start with my hero profile. First things first, I just wanted to show you guys that issue that I'm having. So the Deadpool, the kid, I can equip this skin and the X-Force skin, so they did give me the actual skin, but all of these alternate skins, it says the requirement is unmet. The requirement is that you pull out your wallet and give them money. And I did that, and my requirement is not met. So for me, this is like a PR problem. This is something not good for the game. When you tell somebody, hey, buy this product, we're gonna give you XYZ, and you only give them X. And in my case, I didn't even get the hero. So it's like, okay, the hero is X, the story is Y, and the cosmetics are Z. All I got was Y. Then they fixed X, and they still didn't fix Z. So I don't even have the customization options. I cannot equip them. I can only look at them, and that's pretty whack. That's pretty whack in my opinion. So yeah, it's pretty disappointing. I paid money for those skins and I don't have them. I do, however, have all the Midnight Sun skin because I did do the friendship stuff. So that stuff's working properly at least. And these are the better skins in my opinion, preferably some of these crazy ones. So anyways, that's my rant. Let's look at my hero profile now. So as you can see, he's champion level 24. I brought him on 25 missions with Hunter, and I've gotten good use out of majority of his abilities. You can see pretty much every single ability's gotten some play. Even Hey F Face and Pain Pinata, which are pretty much the worst skills on his kit. I tried them out. I tried them out to see if there was anything I could do with them, and that's really not the case. I brought him on his havens, given him gifts, brought him on activities, did all of his story, did all of his dialogue options. I maxed out his friendship level, got him to champion level 24, which is really nothing to scoff at, because if we go to my other heroes here, my least played hero, the Hulk and Nico, they're only champion level 13 and 9. So he's gotten way more play than those heroes who've been around since effectively forever. Hulk you get pretty late in the game, but Nico you start with. But then I have like Blade, he's 26, Captain's 26. So he's pretty much as high as characters that I consider that I played quite fairly, like a good amount. Now I have other heroes that are just like level 90, 120. I got more missions on him, more levels on him than my Wolverine, and I love Wolverine. So yeah, I'm just going to show you that I put my work in with Deadpool, and I think I can confidently show you guys the best build for him and confidently talk about all of his abilities here in today's video. So why don't we get started like we normally do with the passive. The passive is Staying Alive, recovers 114 health each turn, plus an additional 40 health for each Enfuego stack, which it's pretty mediocre, but if you have like 4 stacks going, I guess it's going to be like a chunk, like 400 health, which really isn't that bad considering his overall health is like 800. So yeah, it's not bad. It's better than Wolverine's passive, where you have to redraw cards to get heals. But in a game where you're trying to kill the enemies as quickly as possible, from all the footage you see, the only time he took damage is because my ally blew something up that hurt him. That's the only time I've ever taken damage on him. So it's like, just kill everything and you won't have to worry about healing him up. I do wish there was some sort of passive there, like Wolverine's, where when he dies, he comes back to life. That seems like, because Deadpool can regrow his limbs and, you know, all that stuff. So effectively, he should be able to come back to life in some sort of way. I think that would have been a cooler route to go. And I really don't like the fact that if we're looking at his Enfuego build thing here, I don't like the fact that he loses those stacks when he takes damage, especially like he accidentally takes damage from an ally or something. The Fuego stacks are so hard to build that when he accidentally takes damage, it's so punishing, especially when you just built up that 4th stack or that 5th stack. That means you have to kill 4 or 5 more enemies. Some missions only have 10 enemies. Some have less. So it's like, oh man, like losing an Infuego stack really hurts. I don't think they needed to go that route, and I honestly think they could have made it so you build the Infuego stacks up faster. So Infuego's kind of like his passive, really. Like, you can forget about this passive staying alive. It's just a bonus on top of his Infuego passive, which is the new mechanic that comes with the character. So I look at that Infuego as his passive and not staying alive. Infuego itself is pretty darn good. I think they should make it a little bit better, and staying alive, it's kind of meh because yeah, who takes damage in this game anymore? So let's talk about his hero stats. Obviously, I just got playing with mine. I couldn't play the character for the first week or two. I lost motivation. I didn't even want to check out the hero after that when they finally fixed it. So he could be a lot higher level. He could have gone through a lot more training, but he hasn't. And that's just the world we're in. I would definitely recommend upping his crit chance to 50 and his crit damage to 75. Those are the caps. Having some fortitude on him is actually going to be important in this case. If you can get that up to 50%, I think is the cap, then he'll start the mission with like 400 shields. That means if he does get hit by like an explosive or anything on the map, something accidentally knocks into him and he takes some damage, he won't lose an Infuego stack because it'll chip away at his armor and not his health. So I do highly recommend fortitude on this character, which normally I don't really recommend on anyone other than like Captain America, or maybe some of your tanks if you really want to. He does have some knockbacks, 2 knockback abilities I think I use in my deck, so that's gonna be pretty important, but the knockbacks that I use are forceful knockbacks, so they're already really good. You don't really need to make them extreme forceful knockback by adding 50% more to it. It's overkill, but it's also awesome. And that's pretty much it for him. I would really just focus on your crit chance, your damage, your fortitude, strength as a bonus. The offense is an important discussion to have because offense will affect his overall, like every character's offense that goes up by 1 every time they level. And that actually applies to the damage base number. There's like a multiplier in the card. So the card could go up in like 5 damage. It could go up by like 10 damage. Every time your offense goes up a point, the cards themselves evolve and get a little bit stronger. But because a lot of the stats on his cards say plus damage with Infuego, that stat is separate and that will grow based off a percentage of his offense. So what's actually really cool about Deadpool, and I mentioned this in my Captain Marvel review, because Captain Marvel gets binary, meaning she has twice as much offense as every other hero, she's basically leveling up and twice as fast as every other hero. She's getting twice as much offense with every single level than the other heroes. She grows exponentially stronger than everyone else. That is actually the case for Deadpool here as well, if the cards say plus damage with stacks of Infuego, because they're going to be adding the base damage, which is growing with your offense, but then the Infuego that's also growing with your offense is also adding to that. So you have 2 stats that are both growing independently from each other and getting stronger, and they're adding together for a much higher number overall. So in some ways, he's actually gaining twice as much offense on certain cards every time he levels up as well. Overall, the story here is this character is a good investment, and regardless of all my negatives and critiques with him being a C tier hero, he has absolutely potential to grow into like a B or A tier hero. If you pump him up to like champion level 100 or 200 or something, he's gonna get exponentially stronger and stronger. That's pretty cool. And then with the crit damage, that'll also apply on top of that, so he'll be critting even bigger. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think he's a good investment if you like the hero, and I think you're gonna like my build, so why don't we jump into that? I do want to show you guys like my experimentation. I want to show you that I really put my work in here. I've tried all these crazy mods, like expensive mods. Like these aren't easy to get mods. So like Death from Above, I got plus 50% damage on that twice. I have 2 of them with that. That's a hard mod to roll. Overpowered on KO, draw hero card, on KO, draw hero card for 2 of them. Spread the Love, I've put apply 1 mark on 2 of them. Boom Headshot on KO, draw hero card on 2 of them. Overpowered, quick on 2 of them. Spread the love, vulnerability on 2 of them. Hey F-Face, free on both of them. You guys get the point. I've really experimented with all the possibilities. Pain Pinata was just so pathetic. We'll talk about that later. I wish that was good, but yeah, I've messed around and like tweaked things. Like I was like, oh, this death from above's really good, and then I discovered that something else is better, and like I was like, oh, boom from headshot's really good, and then I discovered something else is better, and if I mod it this way. So I changed his build like so many times getting to what I have now. I really did my diligence here, and that's what I wanted to show you guys. Let's start from the top here, and I think this is the build that I'm ready to settle on. I'm pretty proud of this. I'm pretty happy with this. So overpowered, forceful knockback, and with each stack of Enfuego, it does plus 70 damage. That is based off of 50% of his offense, and so is the base damage of the card. So whenever his offense goes up, the base damage of the card is going to go up, and the Enfuego damage is also going to go up, and it goes up for each stack. So as I was talking about, as his offense is growing, it's kind of like compounding really crazily, because the card it's getting stronger, the card's affix is getting stronger, but it gets stronger for each stack of Enfuego. So it's like when he gets 1 offense per level, he's getting 5, assuming that you build up to 5 stacks of Enfuego. He can get really, really crazy. And overpowered at base level without any upgrades, without any mods, it seems like a pretty lackluster card because it's just doing 70 damage. It's like, this is like a base quick attack. This is comparable to other heroes' quick attacks, and it's an epic card. He's pretty crappy until he starts building up those Enfuego stacks. So what I would recommend, or I wanted to start off with, what I did was I went quick on overpowered. The problem with quick on this is the card doesn't do anything. So if you kill, like all you can really do with this is kick a guy into a minion, and the minion dies, and then the card plays refunded. But now your hand side is shrinking, you're not getting anything in return, and it sucks. So it's like you're just kind of fizzling out of cards quickly, and you're not really killing anything strong. So what I did is I turned this into a utility card. On KO, draw 2 cards. That's the mod. What you can do with this is you can kick a big guy or just kick a minion that has been marked into something, into an ally. If you kick him into an ally, you're going to draw 3 cards because the ally hits them, drawing a card. That gives this card a ton of utility. Even in the case that the enemy isn't marked, you could still get good value out of it because you're drawing 2 cards and you're killing possibly 2 minions with 1 kick because you can kick something into them. And when your Enfuego stacks grow up to like 4 or 5, this suddenly becomes a very, very powerful card, especially if we're adding strength to the hero, we're drawing it as a crit. I've had overpowered hit for I think like 600 to 800 in some of the footage that you guys are seeing in the background. It becomes pretty hefty. That's good enough to finish off a lot of enemies or just do a ton of damage. And what's nice about it is if you're laying all that damage onto a big guy and knocking them into a minion, you still get the KO, meaning you will get the 2 cards drawn. And if they're marked, you'll get the card play refunded anyway. So what I came down to, like you'll see throughout this whole build, is like, why go quick when you could just get a mark support, and that mark support will just enable Deadpool to have more utility. And that's ultimately the route that I went with. If you put quick on this, it's okay, but you're not really getting anything. You're going to run out of cards and he starts to fizzle out, and it doesn't feel very good. So just run him with a mark support and it solves all of the problems with him not having any quick attacks. But we do have some quick attacks, you'll see. So next up is Spread the Love. So I need to do a direct comparison because at first I thought Death from Above was going to be sick, because Death from Above, it does 210 damage with the 50% bonus, which is a lot more than Spread the Love, right? Because Spread the Love, the mod I have, is plus 50% damage. But this gets 50 damage extra for each stack of Enfuego. So it's thinking, oh, this will go to like, you know, 250, 300, 350, 400 plus strengthened. Now we're looking at 600. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a sick card if we just really focus on the damage. But then I completely didn't think of this. This is chain +1. So it's like whatever the damage is on this card, it just doubles every time. So it's like with the other card, you're adding 50, 50, 50, 50. This you're adding 140, 140, 140. This is way better. This is a way better card in all aspects. So I was like, herp der. But that completely fizzles out Death from Above. That's just like, there's no point in running Death from Above anymore. And that's a bit sad. So Spread the Love is amazing. If you can squeeze in a second second, it's probably worth it. This is if you build up to like 6 stacks of Enfuego and you have strengthened on him and you draw this as a crit, this is probably his hardest hitting damage ability other than his legendary. It will just hit like a Mack truck. Some of the footage you'll see, I'll literally kill like 6 enemies with this because it's like chain 7 now, and it's like kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. It's like hitting 300 damage 7 times. It's crazy. It can hit for thousands of damage, and you can spread it out however you love. You could spread the love. You can spread it out however you want. So it's a really good card. I would almost wish I had a second in my deck, but when you first pull it and it's like the very beginning, you have 0 Enfuego stacks, it's pretty abysmal. That's why I only run 1. This is kind of like your build up to card, and when you have too many of them in your deck, it's kind of just getting in the way until it becomes good. So that is my argument to why I have 1. But with the plus 50% damage, this thing can get out of hand, and it's kind of cool seeing him just pow, 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 shooting everything dead. Next up is Boom Headshot. So this also has a great base damage, 280 base damage on it. It gives you an extra heroism for each Enfuego stack. I had this at one point because my Hunter doubles the amount of heroism generated. So at one point, I think I had 5 stacks of Enfuego on a wave-based mission, and this gave 10 heroism. It just fills your heroism, and it's just an attack. The mod that I put on here is on KO gain strengthened. I felt like Deadpool needs some strengthened, and I don't want to use a battle item. I don't want to use a support to give him strengthened. I want him to be independent and be able to get that strengthened on his own. So the chances are you're probably gonna have to hit a minion with this. Hopefully that minion's marked, and if they are marked, you'll get the card play refunded. Now, why not put over or on KO gain strengthened on overpowered? That's where I would have wanted it, because what you could do is you could lay all the damage into a big guy, knock him into a minion, that minion dies, you get the strengthened. You cannot put on KO get strengthened on overpowered for whatever reason, because it's a forceful knockback card. I don't know what the reasoning is, but I definitely tried. If you guys have seen my modding guide, I know exactly how to sift for all the mods. When on KO strengthened popped up, I made sure to double check on overpowered, and it doesn't come up in several seed sampling tests. So I would have liked having 1 overpowered with strengthened, but then now that I look back at it, this just provides so much utility because it's going to do damage to a character plus knock back into a character. There's 2 opportunities for a KO, which guarantees that you're going to get those 2 cards. There's more opportunities to trigger the on KO effect because you are effectively hitting 2 enemies. So this is actually the better route overall. Now, I was also thinking about going on KO gain strengthened on Spread the Love, but you can't do that because it's a chain attack. And then I thought you could do it on Death from Above, but what's the point in that? Because Death from Above does less damage than Boom Headshot, and Boom Headshot generates heroism. So the only other way I would go to get the strengthened is, if you want, is you could put it on Death from Above, and then when you get to 5 stacks of Enfuego, this actually becomes a pretty decent damage dealing card. With 5 stacks of Enfuego, it actually does do more damage than Boom Headshot, but Boom Headshot generates heroism, and a lot of it. So I think this is the better way to go. It's going to provide you the heroism you need to play your heroic cards or your allies' heroic cards. And this is kind of the direction I'm going with Deadpool. He's generating lots of cards. He's generating lots of heroism. And now he's starting to support the team, but he's also killing everything. He needs the support of the team, like Mark. He needs a Mark support so that he gets all the card refunds, but he's just killing everything, building Enfuego stacks, and you're always going to have tons of cards, and you're gonna have tons of heroism, which is just amazing. So next up is All Together. This is probably his best card in the game. Like, this is just amazing. So it draws a card, and for each stack of Enfuego, it draws +1 cards, and the next 2 ally ability KOs count towards Enfuego. So you can pop this, and like, let's just say you're using Wanda that's using supports to mark. Well, you can also use her quick toss. I'll just show you here. I like using her quick toss, where I can throw an enemy into an ally and she gets to draw a card, and because you threw them into an ally, they draw a card. So you draw 2 cards with this. So what's great is you can effectively pop all together now you could use Wanda's quick tosses to generate more cards for the team, and all those kills that she's getting with those quick tosses are contributing to Deadpool's Enfuego. This card all together now enables your allies to take a turn without stealing the precious kills that Deadpool needs to get in order to build his Enfuego. With that said, it's arguable that you could run 2 of these in your deck. However, as you can see, the mod that I have on this is +2 heroism, bringing it to +4 heroism. This card cannot be modded to be free because it draws cards. Draw cards cannot be modded to be free, so this is going to cost you a card play. If you end up playing 1 or 2 of these in a turn, and sometimes maybe you have to do a boom headshot or an overpowered and you didn't get a card refund, you're going to need all the card plays you can possibly get, and generally you can only ever afford to play this once a turn, and if you use it, there's still a chance you may come across it again, even if you have just 1. If you have 2, I found that I was just coming across this way too often. And it was like, I can't even use the second one. And you just start drawing way too many cards. It gets out of control. The nice thing about having 2, and if you have the card plays to play both, the 2 ally ability KOs stack. So it'll be like the next 4 ability KOs, and then you can go up to 6, 8. So between waves, between rounds, it all carries over and it all continuously stacks. So you will continuously get value out of playing multiples of these, but you really don't need to. I've had it where this thing is Enfuego 5. I pop this, I get freaking 6 cards. Like, your hand is full. You get 4 heroism with this. With Hunter on your team doubling heroism, you get 8 heroism from this. You'll never run out of heroism with Deadpool on your team. He's incredible in that regards. You probably have way too much heroism to even run a second one. There is an argument to be made. As soon as I draw this on my first turn, it's the first thing in my hand, I just pop it, because the next 2 ability KOs from my allies are going to contribute to Enfuego. It gets things going. It gives me more card draw potential. I still get the 4 heroism out of it. Whether you use this early or late, it's good no matter what. Overall, he's generally amazing at generating heroism, all things considered, especially compared to someone like the Incredible Hulk. Okay, let's look at his legendary card, the Burning Sensation. Enfuego doubles the damage of the card for each stack. Getting this thing up to Enfuego 5 with strengthened, and you pull a crit. I think I've seen this hit for like 4,000 to 5,000 damage. This thing, I mean, it'll one-shot anything in the game, but when you first pull it, you don't have Enfuego, you don't have your strengthened, it doesn't pull as a crit. Yeah, it's like, it's pretty mediocre, and it's just sitting in your hand, and you're watching it get stronger and stronger and stronger until that threshold hits where you're like, ah, this can one-shot that big guy that I was looking for. Now, one thing I recently did to my Hunter build, and I'll show you this. If you guys are still interested in my Hunter build, I have a new and improved one. Maybe we'll cover that in the extension to this 12-part series. But Holy Gift. Holy Gift is incredible because the next hero card played is not discarded. And if you have Ancestor's Guidance passive, this is an exhaust card, so you only get to use it once per combat. But with Ancestor's Guidance, exhaust cards do not exhaust. So this will just go back into your deck. You could draw it again. You can get it again. This is not, however, a free card. But with the Paragon Collar, after playing a certain amount of light cards, the next card, when you play the Paragon Collar, it's a card that you get. The next card they play is free. So you can pop the Paragon Collar to get a free Holy Gift, which will draw the last attack played and make your next attack remain in your hand. This is amazing for heroes like Deadpool who have a pretty good exhaust legendary, because you get to play this twice. And you'll see that from some of my footage where I literally get that combo going and I play Burning Sensation twice in a row, killing a Brood Mother or taking out 2 big enemies. It's incredible. Not to mention there's the new battle item that he brings to the table with the food truck, which would again allow you to duplicate this card. So you could effectively play this 3 or 4 times with the right kind of RNG. Playing Burning Sensation is going to kill pretty much anything. Having 2, 3, or 4 of them, yep, you're killing all the big things on the map. And when you modify it to be quick, you don't have to worry about it getting marked. You know, maybe Wanda didn't mark the big guy, they just were doing the crowds. There's a big guy off in the corner that didn't get marked. Doesn't matter. Burning Sensation will card refund no matter who it hits. And yeah, generally I use my mark support with Deadpool to mark the smaller guys. So we can use our overpowered and our boom headshot, get that card play refunded, get that strengthened, get those card draws. So we're just really worried about marking minions, not as much the big guys. And that's why we have Burning Sensation and Mag Dump to take care of those big guys. So this has also been modded to be quick, and with each stack of Enfuego, the cost of heroism is reduced by 1. It's a little bit disappointing to say the least. Like, yeah, reducing the cost is great, but he generates so much heroism that I could play all of this at full cost. In fact, there's so many times where I'm like looking to burn heroism off, and my Mag Dump has been reduced to 0 cost. And it's like I can't even use my heroics to burn off my heroism, and I'm just like, I'm overkill. I have so much heroism and I can't even burn it off. I would have preferred this card to get stronger with more Enfuego stacks, because 600 is a good amount, and then when you know, buff its strength, now you're with strengthened, it's doing like 900 damage. If you pull a crit, you know, and you have your crit damage up, this could potentially hit for 1600. So once you've invested in Deadpool, you got him a little bit more offense, you got his crit chance, crit damage fully capped out. Mag Dump will be that card that one-shots anything, and with it being able to refund its card play, that's great. The one thing I would make an argument for, I couldn't get plus 50% damage on this. I didn't try that long, but I don't know if it's possible. Some heroic single target cards can't get plus 50% damage on them. It can, and I have seen plus 25%, but I don't know if that's enough, because it's not 25% of the base card damage. It's plus 25% of your character's offense, which is currently 140. So that's actually only adding 35 damage to the card. That's not really worth it. Whereas we look at like Spread the Love, we're adding 50% of our offense, which is 70. We took this from 70 up to 140, and then each chain attack is going again and again and again and again. Because it's a chain attack that scales upward, you're getting so much more value out of that plus 50% offense, and this card's just going to get more and more and more ridiculous every time Deadpool levels up. So I don't think Mag Dump will get that powerful with plus 25% damage, and you will lose the quick attack. So the only best secondary option would be do the same thing we did with Overpowered. On KO, draw 2 cards. There have been times where I'm killing marked enemies with Mag Dump, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting any value to quick. But then there have been other times where I'm killing enemies that aren't marked with Mag Dump. It's really up to you at the end of the day. Wanda's so incredible at marking. If you guys saw my Wanda build, I've made some revisions to her build just for Deadpool. And I want to show you that here because the Wanda video has not been updated. This is my updated Wanda build for Deadpool. What I did here is I took out I put a second Unleashed in. I took out Chaos Field. I took out my second Chaos Reigns because I don't need her getting the enemies to kill each other, because we want Deadpool to get those kills. And I exchanged it for a Hex Bolt with Apply 1 Mark. So now she has her Hex Bolt marking, she has her Hex Marks. She's guaranteed to increase the area radius of her Hex Marks with that double Unleash. And then we're using those quick tosses to throw them into Deadpool to generate a card for her, fishing for Hex Mark, fishing for Hex Bolt with Mark, or fishing for Unleashed. And, you know, because he's popping that all-together skill, she's feeding Enfuego stacks to Deadpool. Play this to mark 2 enemies, and then the next one you can mark 3, and then the next one you can mark 4. So this is just like, oh, I didn't pull my Hex Mark, but I really need to Hex. I really need to mark something to get Deadpool going on his card play refunds, and that's where the Hex Bolt just comes in. I usually end up redrawing it, but there have been times where I used it and it came in handy. So this is how I focused her to be a little bit more just purely focused on card draw and marking, just to help Deadpool. And with my Hunter, I've made it so, you know, I put the Holy Gift in there, which allows him to play his legendary attack twice. And all these cards are free, and they draw the last attack played, which are generally Deadpool's good cards. They come back into your hand, and you can play them again. So why don't we head over to the Forge and take a look at Deadpool's other cards that we did not put in our deck and talk about them a little bit. So Quick Shot's interesting. We didn't talk about this, but I did mess around with it. The problem with Quick Shot, okay, if the target will be KO'd, it will chain to another target, max 2 targets. So Quick Shot is his quick attack, but it becomes a chain attack when upgraded. That's problematic because chain attacks cannot get modded to have gain strengthened. This would be the ideal card to get strengthened on KO, gain strengthened. So you know that would be the ideal situation where you can now quickly kill a minion, get your strengthened, and then just have one of these in your deck. But because it turns into a chain attack, it doesn't work that way. Next thing that's problematic is because chain attacks can't get on KO, draw a card. So you can't draw cards. You can get a single draw card for using it, but you would ideally want to be able to use your quick attack as a resource to draw more cards. Yeah, it's weird that it's a chain attack and it only stops at 2 and it doesn't, you know, benefit from Enfuego stacks or anything like that. I wish this kind of grew or had more potential or did something different. Yeah, I don't like this card. I'm really struggling with this one. Death from Above we kind of looked at and I said it has potential, but it really is just a worser version of Spread the Love, which kind of makes sense because Spread the Love is rare. But yeah, it's just a worser version of Spread the Love. This is single target only, and Spread the Love you can spread it out, and it's getting stronger faster than Death from Above is. Death from Above, they need to change it, make it different in some way so that it scales evenly with Spread the Love, but maybe what it should do is it should like weaken or vulnerable or give you a card or something, right? That way it would give it more value. I think actually this should be a quick attack. This should be a quick attack. That would be great. Yeah, I would like it then. Pain Pinata. Upgraded. This thing just costs 1 less heroism. That's it. So it's a 1 heroism, damage each enemy in an area, but each stack of Enfuego increases the area. So the problem is the area is so tiny that it's basically a single target radius. It's so tiny. And even if you were to grow it 100%, it's still tiny. And that would require 4 stacks of Enfuego. And it only does 70 damage. So what would you put on a mod on this? Plus 50% damage. So now it's doing 140. Even with strengthened, that's like 200 damage to a small group of enemies. What does that accomplish? If it kills a bunch of minions, you've just wasted resources. Like it's just abysmal AoE chip damage that doesn't accomplish anything. It's not the Pain Pinata, it's it's the Pathetic Pinata. That's my opinion on that. I like the animation of it though, it's fun. Hey F-Face upgraded. This just gains 1 resist by default, and it's gonna add 1 resist per stack of Enfuego. This is actually an interesting skill because with battle items, you can get him to taunt groups of enemies and then they have his attention. Because you have so many stacks of Enfuego, you're building up stacks of resist. So like you could make him a tank, like a straight up monster of a tank, because you could just build up with this card modded to be free, and then you're using it to taunt enemies. You can get everyone's attention. You could have so many stacks of resist because, yeah, 4 stacks of Enfuego, this is going to give you 5 resist. Just popping one of these once you have Enfuego built up, you could literally take damage from everyone on the map and not take damage because you resist each of the attacks. So it's actually kind of interesting because he could be a pseudo tank if you forced him to, and you brought battle items that would also like taunt battle items. And with that, you could also bring battle items that you can apply marks to all the enemies that are taunted. You can start going down a completely different direction with Deadpool. And what you can also do with Quick Shot, you can make it so it gives +2 heroism and taunt. That way the chain attack hits an enemy, hits another enemy, and it taunts both of them. You can also do that with Spread the Love. This can be +2 heroism and taunt. And now all your attacks are chain attacks that build heroism and taunt. And you have this AF face that this builds resist. He's actually does exactly, you can turn him into what Wolverine's core kit does, chain attacking everything and taunting them, but he also builds up resist like Captain Marvel does. He kind of combines Wolverine and Captain Marvel together, and if you go that route where you mod things to be +2 heroism taunt on his chain attacks, yeah, he's a tank. You can actually build Deadpool to be a tank. A legitimate one. But you guys have heard my mottos from all my previous videos talking about all the other tanks in the game. You don't need a tank in this game because dead enemies don't do damage. That's the moral of the story. But I thought I'd bring it to your attention because it's hypothetically cool, and if they ever add in harder difficulties to the game where tanks are necessary, I'll be taking a second look at Deadpool. That's for sure. Pretty cool. So next up, one thing we do in this series is we talk about the battle items that are best used on this character. And honestly, I just find card draws are quite nice to get things going, like a battlefield scanner, or yeah, just the battlefield scanner level 1 or 2, or a utility belt, just in the case you're like, oh, I don't have the card that I was looking for. Generally, I use the utility belt on Wanda so I can fish for her mark, or Iron Man if he's on the team. I can get their mark ability pulled out, then Deadpool can start going to town with all of his stuff. So just like initial starting cards to, and the nice thing about a battlefield scanner, these ones are cheap to make. You can make them often. You can make tons of them. So yeah, I generally just bring this one to draw some cards, maybe a utility belt, because you can craft them quite often for cheap. You don't really have to worry about running out, even if you're popping them every single mission. And that's why I've decided to go that way. It's debatable that you could bring an effort maximizer. You can only craft these once every 4 days. So you'd only really want to bring an effort maximizer on like the hardest or longest mission, but it will generate a copy of all the cards in your hand and discard the rest for a particular hero. So that means you could take all of Deadpool's cards, duplicate them, which would also duplicate your legendary and all the goodies, and then you'll have just like that many. You'll be drawing Deadpool cards more often, you'll be using them more often, you'll have more of them. So it's kind of an interesting way you could go with him, and that is an item from the DLC, but I don't tend to use it. I just thought I'd bring it up there. The only other thing I actually bring with Deadpool is the Overdrive Serum. Gain heroism to the cost equal to all the heroic cards in your hand. There have been times, as I mentioned, when he's either building so much heroism or he's just like doesn't have it yet. So this lets you get there, and then you can burn off that heroism, and then he's just going, and then you'll never have heroism problems for the rest of the mission. So sometimes I like to have an Overdrive Serum to literally kick him into overdrive. When RNG is on your side, this will just sit in your inventory and you won't use it. And that's nice because you can craft them quite often. I have so many Overdrive Serums, I'm sitting on like 20 of them. So it's like I could use one every single mission. So I find that like sometimes I need it, sometimes I don't. But yeah, the nice thing about Deadpool, or at least the group that I play him with, there's no battle item dependencies. So I just take some card draw and some heroism generators, and that doesn't really hurt when you use them. You can quickly craft them again, and it's fine. And last but not least, who does he pair well with? Who does he synergize with? And that's going to be Wanda is his best friend. Yeah, Scarlet Witch is the best. She's the best character for marking. I showed you my like quick little updated build for her, specifically paired with Deadpool. Iron Man's also really good. You'll probably see from some of my footage I was using Iron Man. Iron Man is good at marking, but he can't select the radius of what he wants to mark. He has to select an enemy, and it marks that enemy and everyone around that enemy. Where Scarlet, she can like select the area exactly, which means you always get a lot more enemies marked and a lot more value out of the mark on Scarlet Witch than you would on Iron Man. Iron Man also has that problem where he's got a lot of other cards where he takes over, and he'll start drawing his super deadly attacks, and you'll be tempted to use them, and then Deadpool won't get any Infuego stacks, he won't get any kills, and Iron Man will just take over. But if you play Iron Man as a pure support and modify his build a little bit and, take away from his damage dealing abilities and push towards his card draw capabilities and his mark capabilities, make some tweaks to him, refine him a little bit, then he's a good second option to Wanda. You can go with Blade, but the problem is Blade can't mark minions. So a lot of the things that get going on Deadpool is using overpowered on minions, using your ability that gives you strengthened on minions. If you can't mark minions, you're gonna struggle. So I haven't really used Blade with him, but it's doable. We're smashing missions quite easily on the first turn, second turn at most. Having Blade on your team just means you might not beat it on the first turn like you would with Wanda or Iron Man. And then last but not least, Spider-Man is going to be a great pairing if you're using my Spider-Man build. Links are down in the description below for my full playlist of this series. My Spider-Man has a very unique mark support build that is super viable, that refunds tons of card refund plays, and he's just as good as anyone else. He's better than Blade at marking. He's almost as good as Iron Man. Wanda's still the queen. Spider-Man is definitely like a runner-up in marking. So Spider-Man pairs really well with Deadpool. And then obviously Hunter. Hunter is just amazing. She's gonna lend aid, but that's pretty much it. Like, you can't really bring Doctor Strange because you need some marking. So unless you got rid of Hunter and brought someone that could mark, then that's the only time that Doctor Strange would work. And if you wanted to go that route, then you can start bringing crazy battle items like the overpower one that doubles your strength. And then Deadpool is just going to be a murder machine. So ideally, the best combo to really make Deadpool like a complete killing machine, like an S tier god, yeah, you would go Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, no Hunter. And then you could go use whatever battle items you wanted because Doctor Strange will bring them back. So the one I'm talking about in particular is the Major Strength Tonic. A hero gains overpowered and 2 vulnerable. Overpowered gives you 100% strength, and it stacks with strengthened. So you'd have 150% more strength. The problem is this has to be crafted at the cauldron, and it's insanely expensive. Anytime that I use a Major Strength Tonic, I only bring this if I'm bringing Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange can use Astral Meditation to bring back a previously used battle item. So this, like, Doctor Strange is mandatory if you're bringing this with you. So that's what I was saying, that basically everything that we talked about on Deadpool, all of his damage capabilities are doubled when you bring that overdrive serum, when you bring that power tonic and Doctor Strange. So yeah, if you really, really like Deadpool, yeah, what you could do is just run him with Strange and Wanda. And then when you go to the mission table, anytime you see Deadpool, Strange, or Wanda missions, that's your combo. You can go on any of those 3 missions with that specific team. As I mentioned, Deadpool's kind of dependent on a mark support. So I just kept playing Hunter, Wanda, Deadpool, Hunter, Wanda, Deadpool, sometimes Iron Man. With that being said, he has less versatility than other heroes on the roster, making him a bit harder to level up. Once he's champion level 100, he might not be so dependent on those marks, and you could make an argument to put quick attack on some of his abilities instead, and you don't have to worry about it. But that's my build. What did you guys think? It's a long time coming. I didn't have the hero. I decided I didn't want to do it. Then we finished the series. I wanted to add it in there. So this is obviously a little bit late, but I ended up wanting to get it out to you guys. I wanted to give Deadpool a fair shot, and I did exactly that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Part of the thing that motivated me was just the Venom DLC was announced just a couple days ago at the time of this recording, and I'm like so excited for Venom. Like, Venom's my favorite Marvel anti-hero. He's my favorite character in the Marvel universe. I love Venom. He's amazing. So I'm super stoked for Venom. So obviously I want to do a video on that. So be sure to check in for that. And I know some of you guys want to see me talk about Hunter. If you're still interested in my Hunter build, throw a comment down below. I'm still kind of back and forth if I want to do a Hunter video or not. Hunter's still evolving to this day and changing. Yeah, we could do that if you guys want to see it, but for now I delivered on the series that I wanted to. We did Deadpool on top of it, and we're gonna most likely do Venom. So maybe even the last 2 DLC heroes, we'll have to see, but we're on a roll. So there it is, guys. If you want to know how I modded my characters so easily, I have a modding guide in the description below. I have a whole playlist on this game with about 20 plus videos now, so go check that out. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a like and a sub, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now.